Hello everyone, welcome back to Kênh Review, wishing you and your families good health and all the best. Dear friends, after the terrifying events, the storm seems to have passed for Jack and Tử Tiên. The mastermind has paid the price, and the misunderstandings and dangers have temporarily subsided. However, the heavy damage left behind by the storm still greatly affects their lives, mental state, and future plans. Today, let's find out how Jack and Tử Tiên are dealing with and overcoming those consequences. Will they be able to find peace again and rebuild everything from scratch? Let's follow along in today's episode. The morning conversation between Jack and Mrs. Loy, later joined by Tử Tiên, clearly portrayed the impact of last night's flood and the current worries each of them was facing. Despite being exhausted, Jack showed the responsibility of a leader as he expressed concern about the situation at the construction site after the heavy rain. He knew the damage wasn't minor and that he needed to go there to inspect and encourage the workers. His concern wasn't limited to work. He also cared for Tử Tiên, urging her to rest more. Especially Jack's decision to repair and upgrade the farm for Tử Tiên reflected his deep understanding and love for her. He knew she couldn't be happy staying at his house doing nothing, and that the farm was where she belonged. It was her joy and comfort. This action wasn't just a way to make up for the disaster loss, but also a gesture of respect for her interests and wishes. Mrs. Loy, with a mother's experience, was worried about her son's health and also sympathized with Tử Tien's sadness about being away from the farm. She supported Jack's decision to renovate the farm and understood that Tử Tiên wouldn't feel happy staying at home without anything to do. She also reminded Jack of the dangers of natural disasters and encouraged him in his work. Notably, her words of pride seeing Jack handle everything, recognizing his talent and trusting his career path, "This construction field really suits you," were a great emotional boost. With great sensitivity, she also suggested that Jack could set aside his grandfather's career path if it was too much for him, showing her deep understanding and desire not to pressure her son. When Jack shared his plan to start his own company, Mrs. Loy fully supported it, showing complete faith in his ability and planning, ready to help if needed. Tử Tiên appeared later, looking tired but more composed after resting. Her biggest concern at the moment was still the puppies at the farm, a small detail that showed her kindness and attachment to those small lives. Mrs. Loy sympathized with her sadness, but gently advised her to accept that it had already happened. Jack's concern when he saw her awake, "If you're tired, just rest," and his words before leaving, "I'm heading to the site, take care," showed his unwavering care. Although the morning conversation revolved around worries about the aftermath of the flood and work, at its heart was warm family affection, mutual understanding, encouragement, and support. Each had their own worries, but they faced them together, shared, and sought ways to overcome them, painting a picture of a family full of humanity and connection. Jack left with his responsibilities awaiting, leaving his mother and Tử Tiên at home, preparing for a new day filled with hopes and challenges ahead. After Jack left, the conversation between Mrs. Loy and Tử Tiên continued with the gentle care of an elder for a young woman who had just gone through a difficult time. Mrs. Loy was concerned about Tử Tien's health and advised her to eat, even if she didn't feel hungry, a simple yet warm gesture of care. Tử Tiên, although trying to appear strong, couldn't hide her feelings of guilt and burden, believing she was a weight on Jack's shoulders. "I've been thinking that it's because of me that he's so busy and stressed over unnecessary things." She appreciated everyone's concern, but also felt that she was relying on him too much. This is a common mindset among people in special circumstances like hers, yearning for independence, yet feeling helpless in the face of continuous hardship. With her life experience and understanding, Mrs. Loy gently eased Tử Tien's negative thoughts. She reassured her that caring for one another is natural when living together and told her not to overthink. She reminded her of Jack's decision to renovate the farm and emphasized that the most important thing now was Tử Tien's safety while the money issue could be managed. "We'll handle it as far as we can. Jack will take care of it." Her words were not just comforting but also an expression of trust in Jack's ability, helping to reassure Tử Tiên. Even so, Tử Tiên remained concerned about the farm and expressed her desire to return to clean and care for the puppies. This showed her deep attachment to the place, where she found joy and meaning in her work. Mrs. Loy understood this, but still prioritized her health and advised her to rest first. A phone call from a friend inviting her to go shopping for her son's wedding interrupted their talk. Though busy, Mrs. Loy didn't forget to remind LyTutien to be careful, suggesting she either rest or wait until she returned before going to the farm. This concern once again showed the genuine affection she had for the young woman. LyTutien, though wishing to handle things on her own, responded respectfully and agreed. This short conversation further illustrated the growing bond between Mrs. Loy and LyTutien. Mrs. Loy was no longer just Jack's mother, but had become a second mother and a steady emotional support for LyTutien during tough times. And LyTutien, despite still carrying feelings of guilt and anxiety, was slowly opening her heart and feeling the warmth and safety from the love of Jack's family. The conversation between Jack and Mr. Tien at the construction site revealed the real difficulties and challenges they were facing after the flash flood. Despite being overwhelmed with personal worries, Jack still fulfilled his role as a responsible project manager by going directly to the site to assess the damage and encourage the workers. Mr. Tien, who was directly in charge of the construction, gave a detailed update on the losses caused by the flood. A significant amount of building materials like sand and stone had been washed away. However, there was some good news. The bridge foundation had already been laid beforehand, so it wasn't too affected, although cleanup and some rework would still be needed. This reflected a bit of luck amidst misfortune, but also highlighted the hardship faced by construction workers dealing with unexpected natural disasters. Their discussion also highlighted the challenges of the terrain and construction conditions. Transporting materials into the site became difficult due to muddy roads after the flood, requiring temporary and more expensive solutions. The perseverance and efforts of the construction team were evident in Mr. Tien's words. "We just keep filling in front and digging behind. Everyone is doing their best." Jack, though he was the investor and designer, maintained a respectful and understanding attitude toward the difficulties the team was facing. He acknowledged their hard work, especially when laying the foundation under poor weather conditions. Those days doing the foundation were exhausting. He also mentioned that the results from the geological survey were up to standard, reaffirming the project's feasibility and encouraging the team to keep doing their best. The biggest concern for both men at this point was the weather. Construction during the rainy season always carries risks. It can delay progress, damage materials, and even affect the quality of the structure. Mr. Tien's words, "You never know when it'll rain, and it could pour right after we finish pouring concrete and wash it all away," reflected the helplessness humans feel against nature's power. Nevertheless, the determination to complete the project remained strong. They discussed the expected timeline, hoping to finish the retaining wall within a month and the entire irrigation bridge project in about 4 months if the weather cooperated. In the end, Jack didn't forget to show concern for the workers' safety. "Make sure their eating and sleeping areas are safe. If we lose property, we can rebuild. But if lives are lost, that's a serious problem." His heartfelt encouragement, "Hang in there, brother, keep going." And Mr. Tien's gratitude wrapped up their exchange at the site, reflecting their unity and determination to overcome hardship and complete a meaningful project for the community, even knowing that nature and weather would continue to pose many challenges ahead. After Mrs. Loy left, the quietness of the house seemed to highlight even more the inner thoughts of LyTutien. She clearly noticed how clean and orderly the house was, a stark contrast to the farm, likely still in disarray after the flood. Worries about the farm, about her father, and especially a deep sense of guilt for being a burden to Jack began to rise again. "Honestly, sometimes I just don't want Jack to have to worry about me so much. I don't even know what I should do." These self-reflective thoughts revealed her emotional struggle and longing for independence, to share the burden with the one she loves. The fact that all expenses were covered by Jack only deepened her unease and made her feel somewhat insecure. From these thoughts, a new determination began to grow within LyTutien. She wanted to do something to earn money, to take care of herself and help Jack as well. The idea of selling goods at the market, even as a passing thought showed her desire to work, improve her value, rather than rely entirely on someone else. She acknowledged her lack of formal education but wasn't discouraged. She sought opportunities in areas she was familiar with and capable of handling. Jack's call came just as she was tidying up the farm. Lytutien naturally explained why she had returned. She felt down and wanted to clean up. Though Jack was a bit surprised, he didn't object. He just reminded her to take it easy and promised to come by later. His trust and lack of interrogation probably strengthened Lytutien's resolve to take action and not disappoint him. After the call, her thoughts about repairing the farm and the financial burden came flooding back. She began calculating, worrying about the costs, and felt powerless because there's no one I can borrow from. And so the idea of going to the market to sell goods became more solid. She decided to give it a try. Her next move was to find goods to sell. With confidence, she went to a nearby winter melon garden and asked to buy in bulk to sell at the market. Her conversation with the farm owner showed Lytutien's quick thinking and communication skills. She asked about the melon variety, the price, and even harvested the produce herself. Although still new to it all, she showed determination and wasn't afraid of hard work. At the market, Lytutien quickly adapted to the selling environment. She found a place to sit and invited customers in a natural and friendly way. Although a bit nervous at first, I don't know if there will be any buyers. When people started to show interest, she handled the product presentation and price negotiations with confidence. The fact that she didn't have bags for the customers because the melons were too long was a small detail that reflected her inexperience. But she quickly came up with a solution. The exchanges, the handling of small change, all unfolded realistically, capturing the essence of a rural market scene. What stood out was her conversation with the vegetable vendor next to her. Lytutien wasn't just focused on her own sales. She paid attention to other stalls, complimented the vegetables, and even expressed interest in reselling them. This demonstrated her business savvy and desire to grow her efforts. Selling out the basket of melons quickly, they were freshly picked, so people liked them, brought her joy and a boost of confidence. Though the money earned wasn't much, it was the result of her own labor, a meaningful first step toward independence. Her decision to buy laundry detergent and salt afterward showed her thoughtfulness in planning for daily life. Lytutien was gradually reclaiming control and joy through work, a positive sign that she was striving to overcome challenges and affirm her own worth. After finishing his work at the construction site, Jack returned to the farm, where he planned to carry out repairs and upgrades following the flood. His meeting and discussion with Mr. Thao, likely someone experienced in land leveling and construction, highlighted Jack's determination to rebuild the farm in a more structured and solid way. Jack described the damage caused by the flood, emphasizing how water had swept through the entire area and the urgent need to fill in the land and raise everything up. Lift the house to prevent future flooding. He explained that the reason for this upgrade was because my friend has lived here for a long time, but every year during flood season, the water pours right into the farm. While he didn't mention Lytutien directly, it was clear that the main purpose of these renovations was to ensure a safer and more stable life for her in this place. His statement that he wanted to replan the area for production reflected a long-term vision and serious investment in the future of the farm, and perhaps their future together. Jack took on his role as the project owner, asking Mr. Thao to survey the terrain, calculate the amount of soil needed, and begin work as soon as possible. He also proposed reinforcing the stream bank, even suggesting using gabions, a more solid solution to prevent erosion, demonstrating his careful planning and desire to solve the problem thoroughly. His promise to send a detailed design for the canal reinforced his professionalism and technical knowledge. Mr. Thao, with his practical experience, provided feedback and committed to mobilizing his team as soon as possible, ensuring the work would stay on schedule before the rainy season. The mutual trust and cooperation between the two, based on their existing relationship, created an efficient and reliable working atmosphere. However, amid their focused discussion, a moment of worry surfaced when Jack noticed that Lytutien was nowhere to be seen. His question, "I wonder where Lytutien went, maybe she went home," showed that he was still deeply concerned about her safety and well-being. Even though he had arranged for her to stay in a safe place, her sudden absence from the farm, despite previously saying she would come clean up, left him uneasy. This once again highlighted Jack's deep care and protective instinct for Lytutien, even while he was dealing with important matters. On her way back from the farm, or perhaps heading somewhere else, Lytutien unexpectedly came across a group of children playing and swimming in a stream. Her immediate reaction was one of surprise and concern upon seeing them bathing in a spot where the water looked deep and dangerous, especially during flood season after the recent storm. Wow, that's deep. But swimming here is really dangerous. She quickly showed the care and responsibility of an adult, urging the children to go home, warning them of the danger and that their parents would worry. The water's really high now. It's dangerous to swim here. It's late. Your parents might come looking for you. Even though the children were strangers, Lytutien didn't hesitate to stop and try to persuade them to get out of the water. Her action of pulling one of the kids up onto the bank, "Come here, let me help you up," showed her genuine concern and eagerness to ensure their safety. She felt how cold the water was and worried they might catch a cold. "It's freezing. I can feel how cold this water is. Go home and change your clothes so you don't get sick." Although the children still seemed eager to play, Lytutien's patience and sincere words appeared to make an impact. She didn't just warn them of danger, she also appealed to their sense of family. "Your parents at home will be really worried." Her parting words and final reminder, "With the water this high, it's really dangerous for you to keep swimming here," once again underscored her concern and sense of responsibility for the safety of children. This brief scene, while not directly tied to the main plot of schemes and tension, subtly revealed another side of Lytutien's character, a kind-hearted, compassionate young woman who always looks out for others, especially children. It also reflected her growing maturity and sense of responsibility following all she had been through, even as she continued to face many of her own worries and challenges. The meeting between Jack and Lytutien at the farm, after Jack had finished discussing repair plans with Mr. Thao, brought a blend of practicality and warmth. Despite being busy with work at the construction site and renovation plans for the farm, Jack didn't forget to show his care when he saw Lytutien returning from the market. He explained why Mr. Thao was there and outlined the plans to repair and upgrade the farm, once again affirming his desire to create a safer and more stable living space for her. Lytutien, while understanding Jack's good intentions, responded with caution and practicality, concerned about the cost of the repairs. She felt the house was still in decent condition and suggested that only minimal repairs and a slight elevation of the floor would suffice. She didn't want Jack to spend too much. This reflected her maturity and sense of responsibility, not wanting to become a financial burden on her partner. She also expressed her wish not to stay idle at home, but to keep working at the farm, even with light tasks, so she could feel productive and at ease. Jack, with his deep love and understanding, gently dismissed her worries about money. "Let me handle this, Lytutien." He assured her that taking care of her, his girlfriend and future wife, was something he truly wanted to do, and she didn't need to worry about it. His words were not only comforting, but also a commitment, a reaffirmation of how important Lytutien was in his life. Still, Lytutien remained firm in her desire to be independent and to share the burden with Jack. She openly said that while she hadn't earned much from her market trip, she wanted to continue making her own money to help him. She didn't want to keep relying on him and spending his money. This marked a significant step in her thinking and actions, demonstrating maturity, self-respect, and a strong desire to contribute equally in the relationship. She wanted to become stronger so Jack wouldn't have to worry about her so much. Jack fully understood and appreciated her mindset. He didn't dismiss her intentions but encouraged her, affirming that she was already a strong person and that as long as she did what made her feel comfortable, he was happy. He didn't impose, but instead respected her efforts and her wish to be self-reliant. This conversation, though centered around farm repairs and money, was a clear reflection of the maturity in Jack and Lytutien's relationship. They didn't just share love, they shared understanding, respect, and a mutual desire to shoulder responsibilities and build a future together. Jack remained the protector and planner of big things, but Lytutien was steadily becoming a partner who could support and walk beside him, not only in joyful times but also through life's hardships. After many long days facing difficulties and danger, Jack and Lytutien's lives are gradually entering a new phase, a phase of recovery, rebuilding, and important decisions for the future. Jack is not only focused on work at the construction site, but is also planning to renovate the farm, creating a more stable and secure home for Lytutien. Meanwhile, Lytutien shows admirable strength and a desire for independence as she begins her small trading venture. The love and understanding they have for each other continue to deepen, becoming a solid foundation for them to overcome all challenges together. Kênh Review would love to hear your thoughts after this episode. What do you think about Jack's decision to renovate the farm and Lytutien's efforts toward independence? Do you have any predictions about their new life after all they have been through? Leave a comment and share your thoughts with us. If you're also supporting and hoping for the best for Jack and Lytutien, don't forget to hit like, share the video, and subscribe to the channel to continue following along with us. Thank you so much. See you next time.